Straight up 6 o'clock, our top story this morning is the aftermath of those tornadoes that touched down in both Maryland and Virginia and the impacts to our neighborhoods.
Now that the sun is coming up, we're getting a better look at some of the damage in Montgomery County. Emergency crews are giving an update right now, in fact, in Gaithersburg. Let's listen in.
At peak, we had about 1,000 power outages across the county. We're down to a couple hundred at this point, and those will come back online. As you can probably hear in the background, there are a number of crews out this morning doing work, removing trees from roadways and from power lines as well. So that work will continue. Last night, during the height of the storm, between about 6 o'clock and about 8:30, the Emergency Communications Center received over 100 calls for service. Those dispatched to 88 different events, 35 of which were definitely storm related, although others may have been tangentially connected to the storm. We got incredibly lucky in Montgomery County with 2 different tornadoes coming during the peak of rush hour, evening rush hour, and when people are home having dinner in their homes. We were just very fortunate that the damage in Montgomery County was not substantially worse. We had storms tracking all the way across west to east in the county, from Poolsville to Germantown, here in Gaithersburg, and across to the Olney Brookville area, and obviously could have had a substantially greater amount of damage. So the rest of the day today is going to be focused on cleaning up the storm damage, getting roadways, the few roadways that are still closed, open, clearing out wires and trees, and obviously assisting the families whose homes were more severely damaged, making sure they've got a place to go for the next several days, get them settled, and work with the American Red Cross and our Department of Health and Human Services to provide them with the support that they're going to need moving forward. That's all we have this morning, but happy to take any questions.
Dr. Stoddard, was there anybody else other than the 5 injuries from this house, anybody else injured throughout Montgomery County?
So we had a number of personal injury crashes, of which, obviously the crashes are some of which are storm related because of, could have been debris in roadways, people making emergency decisions, but none that I'm aware of specifically being obviously transports to the hospital.
Any safety tips, anything?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So safety tips, obviously, if you're cleaning up, be very cautious. I would anticipate we will see some injuries today from people cleaning up things in their yard. Be safe. If you're going to be up on ladders, removing trees, make sure you do so in a safe manner with an appropriate setup. If you do see still any down wires today, make sure you've called them in first before you go and just assume you can cut them down. We don't want, obviously, the people to sustain injuries today during the cleanup, but that is something we are concerned about.
Dr. Stoddard, any idea, I know it's super early, about how much this is going to cost?
Yeah, it is super early because obviously we're still getting out. There were, across the state of Maryland, they're estimated at least probably 15 different tornadoes. That's what National Weather Services, they're going to confirm those today. And so, statewide, I'm not sure whether we'll reach the necessary damage thresholds for any sort of declaration across the country. But it's going to be, depending on the homes, it's going to be, it's several $1 million, but we'll have a better number for that later today, I think.
And I know I was one of those that my phone was going off, it was alerting. That system worked for me, and knew to go downstairs into the basement, take cover. After action, you feel like the alert system, the warning system, acted as it should have? Yeah,
we had a lot of people asking questions saying, "Oh, I didn't get tornado warnings where I'm at." Well, actually, they're very geolocated, so we actually connect directly with the National Weather Service. Our Alert Montgomery system interfaces directly with them. We also have the wireless emergency alert system. I was actually in the Kentlands in Gaithersburg last night for a dance event with my daughter, and during that I received a wireless emergency alert while sitting in my car, and immediately moved inside to a store which had an indoor space. And so it worked as far as we can tell. We'll obviously make sure that that's the case for everybody, but it's one of those things where we've planned to prepare. Our Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security is long prepared for these events, and we've actually minimized any human necessity in the process, so that it's a very seamless process that goes quickly without really any need for very minimal mistakes can happen.
These alerts, are they supposed to, even if you're asleep, even if, that's always been my biggest fear, that one of these things will happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And are the alerts supposed to go off even if your phone is in a sleep sleep mode or that sort of
Yeah, so the wireless emergency alerts, anyone who's connected to a cell tower, whether you registered or not, this is the national service, much like the Amber Alert system, where it'll give you the pretty loud, obnoxious tone, and that should wake up just about anybody if you receive those. And that's only going to go for a warning, meaning there's an imminent risk of a tornado striking your residence at that time. That's why we have that alert system, and it is quite loud, so I think it'd be very difficult. The only way you would not get those alerts is if you've gone in and deactivated specifically within your phone to turn it off.
You talked about the potential for 2 tornadoes. Can you talk to us about those, how close they were together? I know the National Weather Service is still doing their assessments, but how long were they on the ground? How much other damage did they cause? Just talk about the specifics of the weather.
Yeah, what we believe is the first tornado actually came across from Leesburg, across Poolesville, into Germantown, and we think that's where it ended. The other one came Gaithersburg across 270 to where we're at today, and proceeded across to the only Brookville. This seems, based on initial, this may have been actually the smaller of the 2 tornadoes, but that'll come out today later in terms of they'll assess the wind speeds and things of that nature. But obviously west-east is, it's a pretty long distance for 2 tornadoes to travel.
And you're saying the National Weather Service is already saying preliminarily EF1 for both of them?
Yeah, that's the preliminary for this site. I don't think they've made it up. They hadn't made it up to Poolesville as of last night, and so they'll make that assessment today. But they base that a lot on, you have to look at the trees and the nature of the damage, and that will help them understand exactly what the wind speeds were likely at the time. And so obviously by the time they got out here last night, it was already dark, so they'll be out again today helping us do the assessment, tracking the route of the storms, things of that nature.
But just confirming, because there's been a question about the exact number of tornadoes. 2 is what
We believe 2. I mean, it could end up being more than 2, but we think at least 2 in Montgomery County at this point. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right, there. So we just got an update from Montgomery County officials there. You heard him say we got incredibly lucky, and that is really the case here. As the sun comes up, you can see better picture here, the size of this tree that went into this home. Again, this is here, we're talking specifically about Dogwood Drive. This massive tree that went into this home, and it did not rest on the home. It cut this home in half. You can see the trunk really just at the bottom, essentially on the ground. An extensive amount of damage. He talked about the 5 people that were inside here at the time. They are thankfully expected to survive. He said they are all doing well this morning, so that is an update that I think we were all looking to hear. As far as the rest of the county, just an extensive amount of calls that came in. People without power last night, still according to Montgomery County officials, still a couple of hundred people without power this morning. You can hear in the background now, we saw a couple of tree removal crews come through here, and they are working hard this morning. Pepco trucks are out here trying to get the power that is still out, trying to get that restored. But again, we are now seeing neighbors come out walking their dogs. We are seeing the extent of this damage, and to be able to see this and see how big this tree is, to see some of the other debris around the area, and to know that no one was seriously hurt in this is truly incredible. So certainly lucky for the county here. Again, as we were told, at least 2 tornadoes came through here this morning. Another important thing to note as we continue throughout the day, I mean, you can see here even debris like this, it's still pretty big here, and they said please be careful if you are planning to clean up today, because that is really the focus for a lot of people here this morning throughout the day. If you are planning to clean up, please be careful. Be careful where you're stepping. Be careful where you're walking, especially because there are still down power lines throughout the county. They're working to get some of the debris off of the roadways here as well. And so they are really urging people, if you don't have to be in this area, stay away from here. Let the crews do their job. And if you do have debris in your yard, just please be careful as you work to clean that up. But again, very lucky that things weren't worse here, guys.
Absolutely. And Marcella, I was also struck by the fact that he said that the county will step in to make sure that people have a place to go, because that home behind you is so uninhabitable right now. Marcella, thank you so much.
All right, and as we get ready to get over to Caitlin, now Caitlin and I talked about this, that alarm system that he mentioned. It's important to note that he said you don't have to sign up for it. It was really loud. Now, I was asleep and I did hear it.
Right.
It was loud because all the phones in the house went off. And Caitlin and I talked about this because there's more storms that are on the way today. So people need to be ready. And there's always a possibility that these alarm systems could go off, which is a good thing to alert you that something is coming.
That's exactly right, Wisdom. Now, the Montgomery County official did say you can deactivate them. I would never recommend that. Those are life-saving messages that will come through your phone. And to help you better visualize what he was talking about in terms of the number of tornadoes that were reported, every red dot you see there on your screen, that is a reported tornado that the National Weather Service will be out surveying today. Now, we know we had a confirmed tornado just to the north of Leesburg, and that same storm system stretched across Montgomery County. Now, what we saw was this tornado lift and drop multiple times. Another confirmed tornado in Poolesville, Gaithersburg, Olney, and over toward Redland. So we'll be keeping an eye on those reports from the National Weather Service as they continue to survey today and in the days to come. It is going to take a while before we get some finalized numbers on the path and the ranking of these tornadoes. Now, we do have another weather watch alert for today. We have a cold front sliding through. That's going to bring us more showers and isolated storms as we head into the afternoon. Now, right now we are continuing to watch that batch of steadier rain moving into northern Virginia, parts of western Maryland, from Cumberland over toward Hancock. It is going to take a while for these storms to develop. I really don't think a lot of us see much activity until after around 10, 11 o'clock this morning, but it's really between 1 and 8 o'clock this evening that we'll be tracking not only scattered showers, but a few embedded thunderstorms. My biggest concern with those storms for today is going to be locally heavy rain, frequent thunder and lightning, so any outdoor plans need to be flexible if a thunderstorm develops where you are, and potentially damaging wind. The risk for severe weather on the table once again today, nothing like what we saw yesterday, but damaging wind, thunder and lightning will be the biggest concerns for today. Plan ahead now. You might have a slower afternoon commute. But for more on your morning drive, I want to check in now with Lindsay. She has an update for commuters in Silver Spring.
Live look for you starting off around the Beltway at New Hampshire Avenue. Interstates are actually in decent shape this morning despite all of that rain and wind that we had come through last night. I know my drive-in towards Arlington wasn't that bad at all. A little bit of ponding on some of those outside shoulders of the interstate. We do have a lot of damage reports that I've been tracking for you, especially in Montgomery County. So we do have a portion of Darnestown Road completely closed down both ways at White's Ferry Road. That's due to a downed tree in the area. You've got 118 or 119 as your detours. Try and stick with those main roadways and away from those smaller secondaries and neighborhood roads as much as you can. Interstates are going to be safest for you this morning. And then in Germantown, pretty close by, we have a portion of Germantown Road heading southbound, still completely closed down too. That's around Black Rock Road. Southbound lanes impacted. Northbound lanes, you're good to go. We have a tree down on some power lines there. That closure has been in place since I walked into work this morning. Detours here, you've got 119 or Clopper Road instead. I'll have a check of your updated drive times coming up.
Lindsay, thank you. We are staying on top of this cleanup effort throughout the morning.
Now, when tornadoes start moving through, we were sending out alerts through the WUSA 9 app. So with more storms coming today, make sure that you have it downloaded to your phone. Just search WUSA 9 in the App Store, and we'll have a check on some of your photos coming up.